Many players approach StarCraft 2 in a very immature way, hoping they face no cannon rush, no cheese, no proxy, and that their opponent play the most standard and obvious strategies. But your opponent hasn't queued a game to please you, he queued a game to beat you, just like you did. Every opponent is a new opportunity to grow, a new opportunity to become a better, sharpened player. Be grateful for that. A lot of players think it's normal to be pissed off or mad when they get cheesed, and that it's an healthy reaction. It used to be my own reaction as well. I thought that these players who cheese their way up to higher ranks didn't deserve their ranks, that it was some form of cheating in some sense, and that StarCraft 2 wasn't supposed to be played that way. But one day I started telling myself a new story, a more positive one. I even started to bullshit myself, and I told myself that the universe, or whatever the hell you want to call it, decided to send these peoples in my way as obstacles to overcome that had a purpose to not only build my resilience. Funnily enough, soon after in my pro gaming career, I was really hoping that people would cheese me or all in me, because I had become very good at defending them, and I knew I had a very good chance at getting a pretty easy win. But this only happened when I recognized the opportunity that was given to me. I knew that instead of wasting my energy arguing that this kind of playstyle should not be a thing, I should instead focus on my own actions to defend and thrive, and that if every day I did my best to 1. Accept that these people indeed exist, and 2. If I play with the intent to do my very best, eventually I'd become a much more solid player, and cheesers will eventually become my MMR bank. I also recognize a very crucial point. Cheesers will have a tough time breaking plateaus if they refuse to expand their playstyle repertoire. On the other hand, as I keep improving as a well-rounded player, I pretty much have an infinite growth potential. So think of it this way. Gimmicky players sacrifice their future for immediate reward in the form of MMR. You, on the flip side, may have it rough right now, but as time goes on, your efforts will be far more rewarded. So don't be mad about losing game to cheeses. If you put your soul into defending and learning how to defend these strategies, eventually you'll become far better than these guys. But first you need to accept that such players sadly exist, as painful as it is. Somebody doing mass zergling all-ins can only become so much better. There's not much room for improvement. He gets his pool and gas on time, injects and spams zerglings, and that's about it. As far as you're concerned, you will have to scout, make a nice SimCity, not like Hero, make sure your defense is tight, and sometimes you will completely screw things up and fail to defend. But as you perfect your art, eventually you'll never lose to this shit ever again, or very rarely. The Zergling spammer, on the contrary, will stick to being a Zergling spammer stuck forever if he doesn't try to improve his fundamentals. So don't be mad about losing right now. Remember in high school this guy sprinting at the beginning of the run to impress the girls? This dude always finished last, while the smart guys played it cool and managed their energy and eventually won the race. Cheesing makes you look smart in the short term, but won't get you very far in the long run. Playing a robust style is difficult, takes effort, and can oftentimes be a bit frustrating. But in the long run, you'll be a much better player and you'll be the one laughing last. So keep that in the back of your head. I actually have a personal story to illustrate what I just mentioned. There was a French Zerg player that I used to play against very frequently in French lands. And even if on paper I was the better player and far more complete as a whole, I would still lose my nerves against this super aggressive gimmicky style, and I kept on biting the dust. I was higher ranked, yet I would lose again and again. I made it clear that I never wanted to blind counter him. My goal was not to beat him specifically, my goal was to become the absolute best player I could possibly be. And blind countering him could give me a short-term satisfaction, but I knew deep inside that dodging my responsibilities and avoiding the face-to-face interaction between my philosophy and his eventually would cause me some trouble. So I always stayed true to myself and stick with my playstyle, even if it meant losing. Losing several times in crushing defeats. One of which almost made me quit altogether. Thankfully, my dad found the right words on that day to keep me going, but I just couldn't take it anymore. I was done. But as experience started to kick in, the man that would always find the upper hand on me ended up becoming my doormat. I would beat him 2-0 or 3-0 non-stop. He barely took a map from that point on. I had a conversation with him and he felt so defeated. He recalled, 6 months ago we had the same level. And now you're untouchable, what happened? I said, You took the easy way out. I took the hard one. I don't think you can go that far playing the way you do. You need to get back on track and play a macro-oriented style, where you can solidify your mechanics, game sense, and decision making. That's the only way. That's what I told him. At this moment, I really understood what it meant to persevere when you know you're doing the right thing in the long term, despite the difficulties you go through. Because if you persevere long enough, eventually you'll overtake them. It can take a while, of course, but you should never stop believing. At pro level, nobody is scared of cheesers, except of Haz, I suppose. The players who are really terrifying are those who can macro very well, who are super well rounded, but who can still pull off a cheeky build every now and then. These guys are the scariest. Rogue, SOS, TY, Parting, Dark, just to name a few. Those players are unbelievably complete players. They can do everything. And God knows they can cheese the hell out of you if they want to. But they don't have to. If you know someone who can only all in, not only you kinda have a decent idea of what to expect, but there's a good chance they'll feel completely overwhelmed once you reach the later stages of the game. If you play against a macro monster on the other hand who can cheese, you can't really afford to play too safe. But will you play greedy, knowing that a Nidus all-in could be hiding around the corner? So if you are a dirty cheeser yourself watching this video, I would strongly invite you to diversify your gameplay if you want to improve in the long run. If you just want to have some fun and throw some funky builds, that's fine, go ahead, there's no rule. You're free to play the way you want to play. Just know that it won't get you super far most likely. Eventually, people will have you figured out. Now, I can already hear some of you say, well, look at your thermal, he's cheesing yet he's very high. Yes, he's very high because he's Dutch. Jokes aside, your thermal has great mechanics, phenomenal game understanding, and he's a former champion. So yes, top class players can do pretty well using surprising strategies. But I have a tough time believing that he's going to win a GSL with 1 base swarm host or 200 supply of pure Vikings. Although I would be pretty hyped up if he did. But what experience has taught me is that in general, if you're trying to become the best player your potential allows you to be, building solid fundamentals is definitely the way to go. And if you want to achieve precisely that, I could mentor you all the way towards your goals. So if you really want to bring your game to the next level, get some coaching with DNS himself. And until then, I'll see you. Have a good one.